We should also mention that Gary Cohn has at least if he hasn't left the building, he has announced his departure. Ostensibly, he's claiming that this is over the tariffs issue. Now, it also appears to me that he was a little late in pretending it was about the tariffs issue, because it appears that Trump is already maybe backing off this a little bit. This is
his best moment.
This is Gary Cohn's best moment. Now, understand something. I don't know if Gary Cohn is registered as a Democrat. Coming from New York City, he may be.
I've read several places that he's registered Democrat.
Okay, and but the idea that they're labeling him as some type of they're labeling him as a Democrat in terms of practice. He's just passed one of the most egregious tax bills that, as of today, the Democrats have committed to repealing at least 2/3 of it. For an infrastructure bill. But this is also this is a guy who has marshaled an egregious tax bill in terms of what it's going to do for wealth inequality in this country. He is a guy who sat around while neo-Nazis were marching, and then sort of complained on the side about this. This is a guy who wanted to be the Fed chair. And when he didn't get that, he's been looking for an excuse to get out. But here, watch this performance of Gary Cohn, where he thinks, he is so caught up in his own dogma, he thinks that by cutting corporate taxes, it's going to create an explosion of jobs and of wage increases. We've already seen that that's not the case. What we have seen is a massive, massive, unprecedented fiscal quarter of stock buybacks, which is basically a way for CEOs and board of directors to enrich themselves and to do it at a reduced tax rate. Here's Gary Cohn getting to understand that moment at a CEO Council Wall Street Journal panel talk.
Can I ask you all a quick question?
Pause it. He's asking, and this is not Gary Cohn asking the question, it's one of the moderators. He's asking all these CEOs in the audience the following question.
If the tax reform bill goes through, do you plan to increase investment, your company's investment, capital investment? Just a show of hands, the tax reform goes through? Okay.
Why aren't the other hands up?
Why aren't the other hands up?
John, I've got a question quick.
Yeah. Why aren't the other hands up? That's an interesting question. In fact, that's really material to everything. Let's move on to a different question. Gary Cohn chuckles, and he's now leaving the administration. And I would also say that Gary Cohn benefited greatly from his year-long stay in public service because of a provision introduced by George W. Bush. You could sell your holdings, like his in Goldman Sachs, for in a tax-deferred way, where the money would be transferred into a government bond, and you would not be subject to the capital gains tax for a year and a half later. Now, deferred taxes on millions of dollars is a pretty good deal. And I would also speculate that the reason why he's announced now, which makes no sense in the context of the tariff battle, right? We know Trump is getting pushback from the Republicans. If he was really against tariffs, or if this was really about, maybe he is against tariffs, but if this was really about that, then why wouldn't he stay and try and convince Trump? I have one guess, and that is today is March 7th. What is relevant about March 7th? It's my son's birthday, but it's also 8 days away from the end of the fiscal tax year for corporations, S-corps, LLCs, whatnot. And I would suspect that there is some tax advantage to his announcing his resignation, being able to liquidate those things over the next 7 or 8 days. That's my guess. I have no idea, but that is my guess. Because otherwise, none of this makes sense. He's being lauded as some type of saint and voice of reason. He pushed through one of the most egregious tax bills that we've seen in this country in decades. And he's also a scumbag.